Welcome to the Tailored Fit Alpha Muscle Over 40 series. The goal of this series is to give you a complete educational series that's free for all to consume. This series will take you through every aspect of what you need to know to become the best version of yourself that you can be. So we're going to cover training past 40, nutrition past 40, ideal supplementation past 40, recovery, lifestyle, and everything in between that contributes to you seeing the epic results now that you're either approaching or already over the age of 40. Our goal over this series is to make sure that you have all the information that you need to reach your goals in the most optimal and efficient manner possible. And then if you ever need further help, or want to fast track your results, or want to just have the top male 40 plus transformation experts do all the thinking for you, then reach out and apply for our coaching services if you feel that's what you need or want. So the first place we're going to start with is looking at what the best training split is when you're over the age of 40.
The first thing that needs to be addressed here, and look, admittedly the title to this video, The Best Training Split, okay, it's a little misleading because there isn't one best training split. There is only what is best at this moment in time for you right now, whatever that may look like. Now, what I mean by that is I, myself, at any one time, will need to take a step back, look at my training and adjust it as I'm progressing throughout my training life. So what I'm saying is, what my needs are at one time will be different from what my needs are at another time. So while I might have established what is best for me right now, does not mean that what I'm doing right now is going to be best for me 3 months from now, or even what would have been best for me 3 months ago. And equally, and probably even more important than that, my needs will be different from yours. That's the real key point that I want you to take from this first section. Starting with a training split should always be based on individuality. So when someone asks a question, what is the best training split? The answer is, there is absolutely no best. There is only what is best for you right now at this very moment in time for your current physique right now.
Okay, so no actual best training split. So if that's the case, where do we start then when it comes to deciding or trying to figure out what the best training split we have for us? What options do we have and how do we pick what's best for us?
You probably only have 4 main training split options to select from. Now, yes, there's hybrids of these, but one of these will likely suit and be effective for the biggest percentage of guys approaching or over 40. The first is a full body training split. Second is an upper-lower training split. Third is a push-pull legs training split. And the fourth, is a body split training split. So what are each of these and which ones do we choose? Now, typically people will select a training split mainly based on availability and time. But if we're looking at what's most optimal, which one you pick should be selected on your current physique development, how it is right now. And how you're going to evolve through these different training splits should be as a result of your rate of development.
So, 4 main types of training splits to choose from and over time progress through. For the sake of this video, let's take an absolute beginner and let's see what he requires and how he would evolve or move through these 4 different splits. Then depending on where you are currently at, you'll be able to identify at what stage you feel you're at and make your decision from there.
As a beginner, if you didn't know, your response to training is heightened. If you do everything right, you will experience your fastest and greatest rate of results than any other time in your training life. Now, the longer you train as the years go on, your rate of results decrease. You still, of course, can make gains, but just not at the same fast rate as you did as a beginner. So knowing as a beginner you will experience a heightened adaptive response, you only need a small amount of workload to achieve this. Example, as a complete beginner you'll likely only need to perform a small number of working sets, as small as 1 or 2 on each exercise, to trigger the body to respond in an adaptive growth manner. So you might hit your triceps with an exercise that you've never done before. Now let's say that's tricep rope pushdowns. Now, once you've warmed up, establish the contraction and movement plane at a lower intensity and contraction effort, You'll then head into your working sets, only needing to perform 1 to 2 hard working sets. This will be enough to trigger the physiological growth responses in the targeted tricep muscles because you're so responsive. Now, the beauty of only needing very low volume is this opens up the option of high frequency more than any other time in your training life, which means as a beginner, you can expose yourself to that stimulus literally every second day without running into recovery issues and reaping the benefits of experiencing a high level of adaptive growth response. This is where the use of a full body training split is at its best. What this would look like is performing a workout that covers your full body every second day of the week. Within the workout, this would look like one exercise per body part or muscle group, typically working from your bigger muscle groups first, such as an exercise for your quadriceps, then a pulling or rowing movement for your back, an exercise that hits your hamstrings through one of its 2 functions, a press movement for your chest, followed by hitting your deltoids, hitting your triceps, an exercise for your biceps, and then one for your calves, performing just 1 to 2 working sets for each muscle group. From a maximal development perspective, for a beginner or someone actually coming off a long layoff from training, the full body split provides the best opportunity for extremely high stimulus frequency, giving you the best opportunity for maximal growth over a relatively short amount of time. Done right, this training split can provide huge steps in development.
So a beginner would benefit from a full body training split. If he does it correctly, he'll experience results. But obviously at some stage, this beginner needs to progress off the full body split to continue experiencing results. Otherwise, everyone would be performing high frequency full body splits for the rest of their training lives. So at what stage and why exactly do we need to move on from the full body split?
To answer this, we need to understand what each training split offers. Each training split that you have to choose from ultimately offers the opportunity for different types and levels of stimulus opportunity. These are in the form of frequency, volume, and intensity.
Okay, before Ty continues, let's clarify what those things are. First, frequency stimulus. This refers to the stimulus your muscles receive from how many times in a training week you hit a particular muscle group. Next, volume stimulus. This is how much intra-session stimulus you inflict on the target muscle groups via the volume that you can inflict on them. Lastly, intensity stimulus. This stimulus you receive or generate via how hard you can hit a particular muscle group in a particular session. Example, how many hard working sets you perform to full controlled failure.
We know already the full body training split offers the highest level of frequency stimulus opportunity. This is best suited to the beginner who only needs a small amount of workload volume to generate the desired response. While for an advanced trainer, they would potentially benefit very little from this high frequency because the level of intra-session volume and intensity that they would need to perform to trigger a growth response, because their body is so seasoned and has gone through high levels of adaptation already, would be too high to recover from. And the frequency that the full body split inflicts would work against them instead of benefiting them. The upper-lower training split. Now this is where you perform one upper body session, focus only on the muscle groups of the upper body. Then your next session being the lower body session, where you focus on the muscle groups that make up the lower body. This would typically look like a 2-day on, 1 day off, then repeat over the course of a week. The split provides the second highest amount of frequency opportunity. But as you have an additional day of rest between muscle groups compared to the full body split, this split gives you the opportunity to increase the amount of intra-workout volume on each muscle group, allowing you to start to hit each muscle group from varying angles and under different resistance curves for a fuller muscular development opportunity. The upper-lower body training split is ideal for the beginner to shift into once results from the full body split start to slow or come to a complete halt. Then from the upper-lower body training split, the individual would typically move into now either a push-pull leg split or maybe even a body split training setup. First, let's look at the push-pull leg split. Now the push-pull legs can run as 3 days of training in a row, with one workout consisting of all the muscle groups responsible for the push movements. Now, that would be your chest, followed by your shoulders and your triceps. Then the next workout, consisting of all the upper body muscle groups responsible for the pull function, and that's your back, your rear deltoids, and your biceps. And then the leg session, covering all the muscle groups of the lower body. Typically, this can be run as either 3 sessions in a row with a single day rest in between, then repeat, or 3 days in a row with 2 days rest in between. So, not quite completing 2 full cycles in a week. What governs this variation is normally dependent on how much intra-session volume you are putting on each muscle group per session. Higher volumes of workload, meaning more working sets, more exercises, more varying resistance curves, will likely require the 2-day rest between each 3-day cycle to help ensure recovery is being met. While with lower levels of volume, you can often get away with just that 1-day rest in between. The push-pull leg split gives us good flexibility and options to dial up and play with intra-session volume and intensity. Now, you'll notice as we are progressing, or if I'm progressing a client, we'll shift through the training splits. As we do that, your frequency is dropping, but the intra-session volume is typically increasing. As you advance, as you adapt, frequency becomes a less effective stimulus for adaptive change. And the benefit of session volume and intensity becomes the more dominant growth driver. The last training split is the lowest in frequency, but potentially the highest facilitator of intra-session volume. And that's the body split setup, where each session you'll hit 1, maximum 2 different body parts. An example might look like Monday, hitting your chest and your triceps. Tuesday, hitting your quadriceps and then hitting your calves. Wednesday would be a rest day. Thursday, training your back and then training your biceps. Friday, the posterior of your legs, your hamstrings and your calves. Saturday could be hitting your shoulders, and Sunday, well, that'd be a rest day. Now, as you can see, you're only hitting each muscle group once per week. So this is the lowest frequency of all the splits, but provides the opportunity for the most amount of intra-session volume per muscle group, facilitating the ability to cover and stimulate all points of each muscle's contractile range and resistance curves through multiple exercise prescriptions per session. It also gives us the best setup, or the easiest setup, to tap into multiple hypertrophy mechanisms in a single session. An example, the first half of hitting your back, you might concentrate on heavy mechanical tension work, lifting low and heavy across exercises where the muscle is strongest through its mid-range contraction. Then you would move on to exercise prescriptions offering the opportunity to hit the target muscle through its biomechanically weaker extremities, its fully lengthened positions, and its fully shortened position, and using techniques to bring about growth drivers such as muscle damage and metabolic stress. The body split setup allows the easiest use of higher session volume and the potential use of multiple different growth drivers in a single session.
What we've covered today are the different options you have at your disposal when it comes to different training splits. We've covered briefly what each split setup looks like and the typical transition moving from one to the next in line with your development and needs. What we will be covering in future videos is a deeper dive into the self-evaluation required to step back, assess progress, assess your personal needs so you know when and how to maneuver from one training split to the next. In further videos, we'll deep dive into each of those training splits, look at how to set them up to get the most out of each, and how to self-assess with the intra-session volume in each to help ensure that you have what's right for you. Remember to like and subscribe if you find our content helpful, as well as adding your thoughts and opinions down below, as this helps our channel grow and allows us to give you guys bigger and better content down the line. Click the notification icon as well so you guys know when our next video drops ASAP.